Hello, YouTubers. Welcome to another edition of AP Vocabulary. We are talking now about exploration by Europe and specifically how Spain and Portugal kind of led the charge and how the Dutch and the British and the French attempted to kind of keep pace. And so we're looking at two words specifically today, and those two words that we're looking at are trading companies in general, and then Cape Colony specifically. And we'll kind of talk about that in the context of these five nations and how these five European nations and others behind them wanted to go out and settle new areas or explore new areas or simply take advantage of new areas through colonization. So the first word we have is trading companies. And almost every single one of these nations, but especially the French, the British, and the Dutch, set up semi-private trading companies. And this was individuals who were commissioned by the government to go out and form and have a monopoly on trade in the areas that they went to. And so the Dutch East India Company, the British East India Company, the French East India Companies, all essentially benefited from having the support of their government to go out and colonize through trade, essentially. This is similar to how the Spanish and the Portuguese sent, especially the Spanish sent conquistadors who were supported by their governments to go out and claim land and to conquer peoples and to bring back wealth. It was just a different way for the government to support trade and further exploration. So these trading companies essentially were the law in the areas that they went to. They acted as the government, and they were very loosely controlled by the governments back at home. And so they had a lot of local control into the areas that they went. And so in many cases they grew incredibly powerful and led to the first contacts with these new areas. So especially in India, these trading companies were dealing with people who'd been involved in trade for a very long time. And so the government used them as kind of trade experts in those places. This led to further settlement by some Europeans. Europeans who were involved in foreign trade tended to be men who were merchants and usually would go there by themselves, and so oftentimes wanted to either stay or ended up staying because they started to form bonds there. One of the places where the Dutch set up shop was a place called Cape Colony. So Cape Colony was a Dutch settlement in South Africa. And this Dutch settlement ended up being an area where the Dutch stayed and started farming. And so these Dutch farmers were called the Boers. So this colony was significant because it was more than just a trading outpost or a resupplying place. It ended up being a permanent settlement. And so as the Dutch began to settle more and more in this region, they came into contact with tribes and African peoples who were already living there. And it started this cultural clash in Africa where the minority group, these Boers of Cape Colony, had political control and had to kind of fight for their place in South Africa with the native inhabitants, with the people who are indigenous to the region. So this is kind of where these two words intersect with one another. So we have, first, I've done a little drawing for trading companies. There you can see I've got a guy on a boat filled with goods going back to Europe, and the colony where the trading company is set up acting as the law, and that big dollar sign in there kind of showing what this was really all about. And then secondly, Cape Colony. And Cape Colony, you can see the drawing here is in South Africa, and it shows this man on a Dutch ship from the Dutch East India Company saying, "Let's settle here," and it's down there in the south. And it was original that hopping off point between India and Europe. So kind of a simple drawing to demonstrate those two places. All these major core nations in Western Europe, which started to become fantastically rich and compete with one another for wealth, were Portugal and Spain on the Iberian Peninsula, and then in Western Europe, France, Netherlands, the Dutch, and then Great Britain. And all of them were successful in their own right, though if we look at land that was claimed, Spain was far and away claiming the most land, especially in the Americas. And so if you could say that anybody was winning, it was probably Spain. Though we'll find out in later units that it became more and more difficult for these countries to maintain control over their colonial possessions. But that'll come next time. So in the meantime, be awesome, YouTubers.